When most people hear the name Area 51, they think of crashed flying saucers, alien autopsies, and viral internet raids. That mythology flourished because for nearly 6 decades, the U.S. government refused to admit the place existed. When pressed, officials relied on the GLOMAR response, a policy of neither confirming nor denying any information regarding the facility. That silence broke in 2013. A Freedom of Information Act request forced the CIA to release an internal history. As the heavy black redaction bars faded away, the words Area 51 and Groom Lake appeared on official government paper for the first time. These unredacted files describe a facility established for a specific Earth-bound purpose, securing a strategic intelligence advantage during the height of the Cold War. This is a photograph of a nuclear explosion from 1949. The moment the Soviet Union detonated its first atomic bomb, ending the American nuclear monopoly. This map illustrates the geopolitical problem that followed. As the Iron Curtain lowered across Europe, it created a massive intelligence dead zone over Soviet territory, effectively blinding Western spy networks. American military leaders feared the consequences of this blackout. Without eyes on the ground, they had no way to detect if a surprise nuclear strike was being prepared, until the Soviet bombers were already in the air. To solve this intelligence deficit, President Dwight D. Eisenhower authorized a highly classified initiative known as Project Aquatone. The project had a difficult technical requirement: build a reconnaissance aircraft, the U-2, capable of sustained flight at 70,000 feet. At that altitude, it could operate beyond the reach of Soviet interceptors and radar. But the mandate to build a specialized aircraft in total secrecy created a secondary crisis. The CIA needed a massive runway to test the U-2, and they needed a location where it could remain hidden from the public. In April 1955, a small team of CIA and Lockheed officials flew a Beechcraft plane low across the desolate Nevada desert, searching for absolute isolation. They found it at an abandoned World War II gunnery range, Groom Lake. The hard-packed, level salt flat offered a natural landing area for experimental aircraft. Beyond the runway, the Groom mountain range formed a natural bowl, completely obstructing ground-level observation. The CIA utilized this specific topography to maintain absolute secrecy. They relied on the natural isolation of the desert basin to hide the Cold War's most sensitive projects. Securing the land required a bureaucratic loophole. The CIA quietly asked the Atomic Energy Commission to annex the Groom Lake grid into their restricted maps, officially designating the plot as Area 51. This placement was strategic. By nesting the base directly adjacent to the Nevada test site, the CIA could utilize the existing, heavily armed security patrols and restricted access routes. This photograph shows a nuclear mushroom cloud rising over the neighboring test site. Routine detonations like this served as a lethal deterrent against public trespassers. This image shows Lockheed engineer Kelly Johnson in conversation at the base. To convince aerospace workers to relocate to this remote wasteland, he gave it a more appealing name, Paradise Ranch. The reality was far from a ranch. Workers endured 100-degree heat, blinding dust storms, and Spartan living conditions, while they quickly erected hangars and a 5,000-foot paved runway alongside the salt flat. Operational security remained absolute. To prevent overhead detection during transport, the first U-2 prototypes were disassembled in California, loaded into cargo planes, and flown into the facility in pieces. The government established a massive operational facility while its existence remained unacknowledged by the public, a feat achieved through a combination of geography, bureaucracy, and internal secrecy. In the summer of 1955, the initial test flights of the U-2 spy plane proved successful, operating at extreme altitudes of over 70,000 feet. This diagram illustrates the optical illusion that followed. Commercial airline pilots cruising at 20,000 feet would look up and see intense sunlight reflecting off the silver fuselages of U-2s flying miles above them. In the thin upper atmosphere, these glowing objects appeared otherworldly. Because the Air Force could not admit the spy plane existed, they could not explain what the pilots were seeing. The strict secrecy required to protect this aerospace achievement provided the visual anomalies that birthed modern UFO lore. As the Cold War progressed, the information vacuum around Groom Lake deepened as the facility hosted even more advanced aviation projects. Engineers tested the Mach 3 A-12 Oxcart, an interceptor built from titanium to outrun Soviet missiles. They developed the F-117 Nighthawk, validating the shapes and materials required for radar-evading stealth technology. They even used the base to reverse engineer captured technology, flying Soviet MiG fighters to dissect enemy capabilities. The absolute classification of these advancements created a void of public knowledge. In the late 1980s, figures like Bob Lazar filled that void with claims of alien craft, cementing the base's place in popular culture. Area 51 remains a monument to human engineering and the extremes of Cold War paranoia. It demonstrates how secrecy invites speculation, even while the documented history of aircraft development remains the facility's defining achievement.